Welcome to Telarus Studio in Sandy, Utah. We're filming live from Studio 19, and we're excited to do a behind-the-desk segment with Chris Jones, the AVP of Channel Partner Sales for AT&T. Chris, want to say welcome to the crowd?
Hey, Roger, thank you for having me, and thank you to the greater Telarus community. I'm thrilled to be here. As Roger said, I'm a part of the AT&T Partner Solutions organization. And I'm here to talk to you about some of the fun things we're doing at AT&T. We've got a lot of really great things going on. We as a company are going through a huge transformation. You know, if you think about AT&T, you see us in the news, you see people talking about HBO, you see people talking about Warner Brothers, how many Oscars we're nominated for. So there's a lot of really exciting things going on at AT&T on top of what you're probably expecting me to talk about. So it's a great time to be a part of AT&T. It's a very exciting time for us to be talking to all of you.
Well, we're thrilled with our AT&T partnership. We know that we've watched massive amounts of resources enter the channel from AT&T and really refocus over the last 18 months or so. I've seen a resurgence in the effort and energy AT&T has put into the channel, even though they've always been good channel partners. But before we jump into that, Chris, you know, we're living in interesting times, and I think, and I always like to start some of these segments with, I've been amazed at how companies have supported their employees and come together as we've gone through this pandemic, things like that. What are some of the best things that AT&T has done for their employees and their customers as they've tried to deal with, certainly unprecedented challenges?
Well, I agree with you, Roger. It's an amazing time with so many unbelievable things going on right now. And one of the best things about working for AT&T is we are such an incredibly employee-focused business, right? So from an employee perspective, we have, we're a Fortune 10 company. We have hundreds of thousands of employees, and, all of our employees are the first thing that we're worried about, right? And so our employees have been working from home since the pandemic started. We very quickly were able to move our business from in the office business to an at-home business. At the same time, if you think about it, part of what business and our society and our economy needs to get through this pandemic is really the network that AT&T offers. If it wasn't for the services that we provide, none of us would be able to work from home or do the things that we did when we made this shift. And so we have people that are in the field every single day. We plan for these things. In the roles that I've been in over the last 10 years, we do tabletop exercises every single year, and we plan for crazy situations. And so when this happens, it was unbelievable to actually put one of our crazy scenarios to real life. But we've actually talked through this. What are we going to do as an organization if things happen, if we need to move people out of the workforce, those kinds of things. So from an employee perspective, we were very prepared for what happened. We have these plans in place that we implemented, and we shifted our business pretty transparently to a work from home model. And then for our critical employees, the technicians that needed to get out there, and whether it was towers or the network, how do we keep everything going? They've done an incredible job. From a customer perspective, we've done many of the things that you see companies like AT&T doing, whether it's, waiving late fees, minimizing collections. There are certain situations where for specific customer needs where we've had to do some things. And so obviously a company like ours is very focused on the community. We're very focused on our customers live where we live. As a global company, our customers and our employees live together all over the world. And we've done a lot of things to make sure that we are not only taking care of our employees, but we're taking care of our customers, and we're taking care of the communities that we live in. We're very active in terms of supporting our communities that we live in and making sure that we're giving back, and during these unbelievable times that we're doing what we can do to focus on customers, employees, and our community.
Well, I know your support team for Telarus has been outstanding as they've adjusted to, again, a new normal. They've been spectacular. So we appreciate you and thank you for that. Are there any channel updates we should know about? Maybe you want to take a minute and tell the partner community what channel updates you might have from AT&T's side.
Yeah, well, I'm going to step back a little bit because I'm going to assume not every one of your partners knows what we've been up to. We're not always the first thing that someone's going to think about, as much as we like to think that people wake up and think about AT&T. But if I step back about 18 months ago, we made a pretty significant pivot towards indirect channels. And really, inside of AT&T, we referred to it as a Go Big initiative, but it was a rationalization and an understanding that as much as we have relationships with customers, there are a lot of other companies and a lot of people like agents that have better relationships with customers. And if we wanted to get the kind of business that we believe that we should with customers, we needed to embrace channel partners in a different way. So we made some pretty significant changes, whether it was rules of engagement, whether it was commission structure, whether it was our support model. Right. For many people, hopefully everyone by now knows, but we moved away from our upfront commission only model into a residual model, which obviously really hunts well with the Telarus agent base and kind of the Telarus business model. So we've done a lot of things around that. But then in the November timeframe, we did some more things to commit really to the master agent space, where we redesigned our channel team. And we separated the traditional solution provider side of our indirect channel from the master agent channel. We understand inside of AT&T that we have a large legacy channel, but some of the things that they're looking for in terms of support and how do we drive business together is very different than what a master agent, sub-agent model is looking for. And so we separated our teams, and we have one team that's focused on our traditional channel. And then I've been fortunate enough to be asked to lead the channel that's focused on the master agents and the sub-agent community. And so my team is only focused in this space. At the same time, we brought together ACC Business and the traditional AT&T channel so that when we're working with you and your agent community, it's one channel manager that can represent AT&T or ACC Business. What we found in the past was there was confusion. Agents weren't sure what was the value prop of both programs. You had different channel managers. We actually found at times we might have been competing with one another for the same business, AT&T against AT&T, two different channel managers. And so we wanted to simplify that confusion and have a unified approach. And really, the way we look at it now is if an agent wants to work with AT&T in a teaming environment, we have that opportunity through our organization, and we kind of fulfill that through what traditionally we would refer to as the alliance channel. And if an agent really wants to go in a non-teamed approach, we have a different sort of path, which is the ACC business path. But we're very supportive of both, and we're very excited about the reorganization that we did. And we've built a model focused on how do we best support master agents and your sub-agents. And so we're really excited, Roger, with what we've done on that front.
And I echo everything you said. So I mentioned that in the beginning, 18 months ago or so, it seemed like that decision was made. I might have said 2 years if I was put on a quiz test, but I've watched, it hasn't been a small effort, but the resources that you've plugged into it and the willingness to listen and adapt I would tell those partners out there that haven't given AT&T a recent chance, that re-engage and give it another chance. If the experience will be different than you had several years ago, right? And I concur with everything you said about the focus and the conflict maybe being gone. So well done on that. I think you've done an amazing job with that.
And I think, Roger, to your point there, right, it's a little bit of why I start our conversation always talking about HBO or Oscars, right? Trying to get people, when they think about talking to AT&T in the channel, to think about us differently. One of the best things about being AT&T is everyone knows who we are. The worst thing about being AT&T is everyone thinks they know who we are, right? And so we need to get people to change their paradigm. We need to get people to look at us differently. And through that restructuring that we did, we actually put in place a model that many of the agents are probably very familiar with, right? We have national partner development managers that are dedicated to masters to make sure that we're getting our message fully distributed through the master. We have 3 regional sales teams set up so that we've got people working with sub-agents so that no matter what master they want to work with, it's the same AT&T person. They can build those relationships And they're somewhat master agnostic at a regional level. And then we have a lifecycle team, right? Focusing on how do you do move, add, change, delete? How do you do that kind of lifecycle work? And so we've really taken the team and designed it around the master model and the sub-agent model to make sure that we're supporting both Telarus as well as all of Telarus's sub-agents in the way that they are used to being supported, the way you want to be supported. And we are listening. And to your point, Roger, we've introduced advisory councils and advisory boards that we haven't had at AT&T with the masters ever. And we're having some really good conversations and some good feedback. And what I would tell you, so much of what we're doing is driven by the conversations we're having with folks like you. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to look back at you and say, you're not giving us the right feedback, because we are very, very collaborative with you all at the moment in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
It's absolutely true. We can't say you're not listening, because you absolutely have. You know, in fact, you talk about being known for something and not known for something. I bet it'd be a surprise to many of our partners that two of our fastest growing segments with AT&T are around mobility and security. And I think often you get lumped into that network group. And so, you know what, but we do a ton of work with you on mobility and security. Any other products we should talk about or update people on, just to get people thinking? I love your idea of bringing some new things in. So what are the other product updates you might have about that?
Well, I think the first thing, which is the most exciting thing for us, has to do with the ACC business part of our business. You know, traditionally people think of ACC business for internet circuits. You know, that is the bread and butter of what ACC business is. It's very fast, it's very reliable, and agents know what they get there. But unfortunately, it's kind of a single solution business. Just 2 weeks ago, we introduced SD-WAN into the ACC business portfolio. And then we've got a roadmap where we're going to be bringing more solutions into that space. So think things like, you know, co-location, think things like broadband aggregation, think like security solutions, right? What we're really trying to look at is internet and connectivity is important, but we know that your agents are selling more than just connectivity. And we know that AT&T has that full solution set. When you think about AT&T holistically, right? IoT is such a trend. It's something that people have been talking about for a long time. Very honestly, Roger, I worked at Singular Wireless back in the day when there was such a thing as Singular Wireless. We were talking about IoT then, right? We act like IoT is this new trend. It's really something that's been around. We're just making it easier for agents and customers to understand what they're getting into instead of individual sort of one-off solutions. IoT is a huge trend. When you think about, you know, the pandemic, you think about everything that's going on, internet connected devices are everywhere. And so that's a big opportunity for us. You mentioned security. We're the second largest security provider in the world. People often don't think of us for that. You know, so there's a tremendous amount of solutions. We call it our integrated solutions portfolio. Probably every provider you work with at Telarus is a part of our integrated solutions portfolio. And it's because everything we're talking about needs network, and customers like to sort of have total solutions brought together. And in a lot of cases, the fact that they can bring all of these solutions together through AT&T is something that's exciting. So I would ask your folks out there to really talk to the Telarus team about AT&T, talk to the team about the solutions that AT&T is bringing forth. We're a very different company than many people probably think. And if you haven't engaged with us, even in the last 6 months, I think you're going to find a lot of things that you don't even realize AT&T offers and you can talk to us about.
Yeah, and Chris, I think you nailed it with IoT. When you mentioned that, IoT has been around for as long as I can remember, right? But it was much more of an erector set, buy all the pieces and build it yourself. What I'm seeing you guys do is put real packages and bundles together that make it easier to go into a customer with a solution rather than trying to figure out what sensors to buy and what software to buy and how to plug those things together. So do you have any cool stories about an IoT project? Maybe you could tell us about, even if it's top secret, don't tell us the names, but kind of the solutions you're working on. I think they'd find that interesting.
Well, I think if people are watching some of the things that we're talking about in social media and in the press, right, one of the things pandemic related that's really important is how do we get people back to work? right? And so if you think about getting people back to work, one of the things that medical professionals are telling us all that we have to worry about is people's temperatures, right? So think about, how do you get people back into large office complexes? How do we, if we're going to go to sporting events or concerts or large hotel events, how do you get lots of people? We can't turn everything into TSA at the airport where we're queuing up for hours on end and, you know, getting TSA pre-check to get into your office, right? So there's a lot of really amazing things that are in the works around thermal scanning. How do you check people's temperatures? How do you have a sense of, are people coming into a workplace that are able to be there? Now, there's a lot of things that have to be worked through on those kind of solutions because there's privacy stuff, and those sorts of things are being worked through. You know, at the same point, I heard a discussion the other day about, you know, grocery stores are using IoT-enabled robots to stock shelves and to clean the shelves. And so there's a lot of things that in this sort of post-pandemic world, or this post-quarantining pandemic world that we're going to be living in, that there are things that you can do through technology that you're going to need really good connectivity to make sure that that robot can go down there and stock shelves, or that robot can go down there and check, you know, clean things, sanitize things, make sure the shelves that we're working and shopping off of are clean. So there's a lot of, the IoT space is almost, if you're a technology geek, which I know you are, Roger, like I am, going into our IoT foundries and looking at the things they're talking about, it's almost the, if you can dream it, we can build it model when you start thinking about IoT. And there's a lot of really fun stuff. And using kind of accounting software, there, to your point, it's like we're taking the custom solutions and shrink wrapping it so that everyday customers don't have to build custom solutions. That's really what the new IoT space is all about.
So it's incredible stuff. By the way, you mentioned your foundries, and I'm not sure everybody knows what those are. So do you want to just explain what your IoT foundries are?
Yeah, so when you think of the IoT, we have these foundries, right? And we've got a couple of them spread around the country, but think of what most people think of out in Silicon Valley, the really smart people that quickly are diving into technology, and they're doing agile programming and all of those kinds of things. Well, AT&T has foundries where we bring in people from outside the company that have ideas and have solutions, and they come in and they have time in our foundries where they work with our data scientists, they work with our technologists, they work with our networking team to figure out how they can build these solutions and how do you make it work. And so it's almost, you know, it's a skunk works of sorts where these people are putting together stuff with AT&T. And if it works, we can roll it out onto the network. And it's really fascinating. And you see lots of cool things. And, you know, our organization is headquartered on the second floor of one of our foundries. So every time I go down there to see it, it's fascinating to see what's going on downstairs. And there's a lot of really smart people that are really creative, doing all kinds of amazing things that you're looking forward to one day seeing out there in the public.
So if once we are able to travel again, is that something I can come visit as a partner? Can I bring my customers there, or is that more of a secret lab that I'm not allowed in?
You know what, Roger, one of the things about AT&T, we do a really good job with technology and innovation, and there are absolutely ways that we can do for the right customer. We have tours, we have demonstrations. I'll tell you, we did our executive advisory board, we hosted at our corporate headquarters in Dallas. And we did it in our briefing center. And out of that briefing center, there are multiple masters who are part of our advisory board who came away with things thinking about AT&T in very different ways. A lot of it was IoT related because we do have this incredible opportunity to get people to think about us differently. So that's a long-winded answer to yes. If you have agents and you have customers that it's a good opportunity to come visit one of our foundries, one of our customer briefing centers, which sometimes is a little more user-friendly for a tour. We bring all that into that setting. Absolutely, we're able to do that.
Yeah, we actually were one of those masters that came away with some ideas from your event and your meeting. So, you know, you've mentioned a couple of trends. You mentioned the idea of getting people back to work and getting people into buildings and facilities. The temperature checking is interesting. You mentioned the idea of sending everybody home is maybe the largest case study ever in the history of technology. Is we're gonna just do this all at once and see what happens. What are the and then we have these home workers, right, where people are working from home. What are the trends you think will stick? What are the things that'll go back to maybe the normal as we knew it? But what are the changes you see that you are most likely to stay around for a long time?
I think when I look at the business and I just think about our life, right? I know I used to see you every couple of weeks in a different hotel in a different city with a different chicken dinner, right? And I think that some of us that have been historically road warriors, we're realizing that we can do a lot of things in different ways. And maybe we don't have to be on airplanes or in hotels as much as we've been historically. Now, I think there's going to be a happy medium of that. Maybe we went too far one way and now we're maybe too far the other way. But I think there's a lot of things that we're going to realize what we can and cannot do in a virtual environment. But I think, even just related to that, it's going to be a lot of changes vertical by vertical or customer segment by customer segment. There are some businesses that are booming right now. There are other businesses that even with the economy starting to open up, if you're in corporate real estate, if you're in landlord, if you do things with, physical assets like that, it may be a long period of time before that side of the business recovers, because a lot of us are realizing we don't need tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in brick and mortar that we own. We can get a lot of productivity done if people are working from home. So I think there's some verticals that we're going to see pretty huge changes happening with, right? I think some other things related to this is there's going to be a big focus in my mind, and I see it starting now, and I think it's going to continue over the next 90 to 120 days. And you kind of talked about it. Back in March, we had a mad rush. It was kind of like everyone run into your office, grab everything on your desk. You've got 20 minutes and get out of here. And people ran home and plugged all this stuff in, and God willing, it all worked, right? But I'm sure that many CIOs and security officers and anyone at these businesses that are responsible for network security and corporate security are probably panicking, thinking about what all these devices that were really locked down in their office buildings were like, are now plugged into open networks at home with us all. And so I think a lot of businesses, now that they're realizing this is more than just a 30 or 60-day time frame, are looking at where are their assets, what are they plugged into, how securely are they plugged into. And I also think there was in the March, April timeframe, there was a rush to whomever could provide a solution quickly. And there wasn't always a vetting of, is that the right solution? Is that the highest quality solution? Is that the most secure solution? And I think now that we're into this new normal, there's a lot of customers that are going to go back and look at the decisions they made in March and April and maybe into May, and try and assess, did they make the right decision? Did they pick the right supplier? Is this the right decision for the long run? Because oftentimes there was such a mad dash to make decisions that I think there's a lot of revisiting of that. I think the other thing that's going on, and it's terrible to say this, Roger, but I remember years ago, I was responsible for the small business sales force in the Southeast region of AT&T when Hurricane Katrina came through. It was actually right after Hurricane Katrina came through. And watching what happened in the Southeast after that hurricane was unbelievable to watch businesses. First, they came back and they rebuilt. Then they started thinking about, okay, what did I learn from Hurricane Katrina? And what can I do for the next time a natural disaster comes through? And there was a lot of focus on disaster recovery. There was a lot of focus. They didn't necessarily know to call it that at the time, but moving to the cloud. There was a lot of focus on those kinds of things. And so small and medium customers are really smart, medium-sized customers, they're really smart, and they're going to look at this and say, what worked? What did we learn? And how can we then really think about our business going forward to take advantage of this? So I think there's a lot of that. I also think that, the UCaaS providers, a lot of people had to quickly move from their traditional voice setup into a UCaaS environment, shipping people home. And I think a lot of companies realized that moving all this stuff to the cloud is great, but if you don't have good connectivity from an endpoint into the cloud, all these cloud solutions aren't really good. And, you know, the analogy I use for this is think about early smartphones. The smartphones didn't go really crazy when you didn't have good data connectivity up into the network. You know, if you're going to stream Spotify for your music, you're going to watch Netflix. And back in the day when we had, you know, TVMA or 3G technology wirelessly, there wasn't a real big push to be streaming apps down, right? But as connectivity and bandwidth really increased, that app portfolio increased. And I think UCaaS is going to do that, and the cloud is going to do that in a different way, because you've got a lot of businesses that have jumped to the cloud, and now they have to look at all these endpoints that they have and figure out, do they have enough capacity? Because, you know, UCaaS is great until you have latency and someone's mouth is talking and the words are coming out 5 or 10 seconds later. You know, the cloud only works as effectively as it does if you've got good connectivity. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to go on, both in the traditional sense as well as just sort of pandemic related. There's going to be all kinds of new trends that pop up.
I think you're spot on. The lesson I'm hearing for a partner here, though, is, and I don't know that we're saying this out loud, is decisions were made in a crisis. Those decisions need to be reevaluated and make sure that we're going to live with those a long time, rather than just inherit that for time. So as a consultative salesperson, I should go back and look at those decisions that my customers made and go through them and make sure it gives them the long-term benefit. I've done things with AT&T for a long time. I think I switched to AT&T when I had to get my first iPhone, right? Because it was exclusive. And then I have to get my NFL ticket from you. You mentioned these services. So, but understanding those decisions is going to be a critical moment as we recover from this, what people are calling the new normal. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I really do think that, you know, businesses were making decisions in minutes and hours, right? And sometimes it was the first person they could talk to with the first solution that they could hear. That's what they were doing. And now that they have time to look at it, they have time to experience that solution. I think there's a lot of businesses that are going to step back and say, did we make the right decision? What are the alternatives? And kind of go into, I hate to call it the RFP process, but let me look at the landscape. You know, is the provider I purchased the only provider of the solution, or are there multiple providers? And so I think there was a rush to a solution, and now there's going to be a focus on quality, decision-making, economics. Was it the right solution? Did I overbuy? Did I underbuy? There's a lot of things that I think people are going to step back and really look at. And then on top of it, they're going to look at, is the provider that I'm working with, who is providing that solution, are they someone that I trust my business to? There's a lot of, I'll call them consumer grade solutions that suddenly became business grade, not because anything happened to make them business grade, other than a lot of businesses started using them, right? And
put the pressure on it, right? They tested it. They tested it hard.
Yeah. They tested it hard, and there's a reason things are built for businesses, and there's a reason that large businesses need security. If you think about, back to my thermal scanning, there's a lot of businesses have a lot of proprietary information. They have a lot of customer information that's floating around, and right now it's floating over networks. It's incumbent upon all of our customers and the customers that your agents are working with to make sure talk to their customers about security audits. Talk to their customer about how to make sure their network is secure. I've seen some videos that our security team has floating around. They're a little bit hokey. They're a little bit cute, but they're all designed to be sort of silly to get people to realize, with what we've done, the risk that we've brought to our network, right? Most people don't have their homes built for network security like a Telarus home office, like an AT&T corporate headquarters. We don't build that into our homes, but there's a lot of information now flowing in and out of our home networks that I would encourage your agents to really start working with the customers to figure out, let's do some security audits, because this is going to be the new normal. I think the other thing, Roger, like new normal related, customers we've learned with customers, they can make decisions much faster than they used to. right? You know, it used to be a long sales cycle. You had to go out, you do an RFP, an RFI, then an RFP, and there were a million presentations of value, and then you had to entertain them and steak dinner, and here, let's go to a sporting event. And these decisions took a really, really long time. And I think what we've learned through the pandemic is decisions can be made quickly, decisions can be made virtually. And I think there's a lot of businesses that are going to make decisions very differently going forward. And I think the sales process is going to be really different going forward. And I think that people are realizing how quickly you can change a business. And you know, maybe we were overly conservative, maybe certain technologists were being a little self-serving to how do you preserve your role. But I think the speed at which decisions were made and how decisions were evaluated and how we could do it not face-to-face with one another, that's going to have a lot of long-term effect on future of business.
It's a good point that actually the buying cycle business is going to continue to speed up, even though it was forced at this moment. That will absolutely be an impact. That's fascinating to think about. You know, you mentioned in the beginning of the call a decision you made 18 months ago to focus on the channel. I'm going to ask a two-part, and first of all is how has that turned out? Why are you so excited about it? And then second, you know, you've been a big fan of ours, and just talk about the AT&T Telarus relationship and why it helps partners so much, just because of the way we work together.
Yeah. So the first thing, Roger, you know, and hopefully everyone can tell, but 18 months ago we made these decisions. But you know, candidly, I've been back in the channel for 4 years. I was in the channel, I left and went onto the direct side, and then I came back into the channel about 4 years ago. And a lot of what we announced 18 to 24 months ago, we've been working on for years, right? We were doing a lot of stuff internally to bring this to life. And so when I think about what's going on right now, it's a really exciting time for us. When we think about the opportunity we have with the masters and specifically with Telarus, right? The investments that we're making, the commitment that we're making to working with master agents is really significant and really impressive. And so we're seeing returns on it, right? Part of the reason that we didn't have the masters focused organization last year and we do this year is we had to grow that business. You know, we didn't have much of a business with the masters because we didn't have a residual compensation plan. As we've made these investments, it's resonating and it's working and our businesses are growing together. And so we're really excited by it. And that's why you're seeing us do things like investing in ACC Business, which is a channel partners only business. There is no AT&T direct sales force selling ACC Business. The only way we go to market is through sub-agents, right? So it's really exciting for us to start making those kinds of investments. Now, our relationship with Telarus, you know, as you mentioned, we have a long relationship, and you were with us when we weren't necessarily masters friendly. You were with us when we didn't necessarily have a residual compensation plan. And you've been critically important to us learning about the masters, providing us feedback and you know, having some of these advisory councils and advisory boards. We not only had the executive one, we had an operations council where we had to ask for feedback. And it's not always easy to hear where there's room for improvement. And when the list for what's improvable is very long and the list for what you're doing well is very short, those can be kind of humbling meetings, right? But Telarus has always been a great partner of ours, and we've collaborated together. You've helped us significantly understand the master space. And honestly, you're investing in your business to maximize the opportunity with AT&T, just like we're investing in our business to maximize the opportunity with Telarus. And you know, we've got some as you're looking for people to hire into back offices, as you're looking for people to be sort of specialists, we have, you know, we've made some referrals of people that have knowledge about how AT&T works, and there's a lot of collaboration and there's a lot of understanding as you're all trying to do that. I know our technical teams are constantly talking to one another, trying to make sure that we can understand how we do this together. So I think the collaboration, I think the relationship, I think that the Telarus being there when we weren't so master friendly has made it that much easier for us to be with us when we are master friendly, right? I think you've sort of been through the not so good times with us, and now you're really critical to us as we get into this time period where we are so masters focused and we are so masters oriented. And even now that we've made this big pivot, we don't think we're there, right? We think we've turned the corner. We think we're making progress. But we also think there's a lot of room for improvement. And Telarus has been incredibly important to help us understand the things that we've done right. And it's kind of like unclogging a pipe. When your pipes get clogged up, you clear the first clog, you don't know what's beyond that clog. And we're going to continue to work through those clogs. And as we do certain things, we've got our advisory board that's going to help us make sure that we continue to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it's really, for us, it's a win-win. When we succeed, when our organization, the Masters Focused organization, succeeds, it means you're succeeding because we have no other option. We're completely dedicated and focused on Masters and their channel partners. And so we have to win together. And sometimes that means having some tough conversations internally. And sometimes it means having some tough conversations even with our headquarters team to make sure they understand how do you win with masters and sub-agents and why do we historically not always win together.
That's great information. And as we prepare to kind of wrap up this conversation, what I'm hearing is in a time of uncertainty, AT&T here is an anchor of stability. But at the same time, in a time of change, the agileness that you've provided by these new technologies and these new things you brought to market, when you combine that with that dedicated focus to the channel for the last 18 months, it really is the best time perhaps ever for a partner to lean into AT&T, understand what's available there, and give that a shot or expand that business with you. So any final thoughts for the partners as they leave, and hopefully I summed it up that somewhat okay, but why don't you sum up for the partners as we wrap up?
No, I think, Roger, you did a great thing there, but I'll give you my sense of that, right? AT&T is not someone that the channel partner community has traditionally thought about, right? But your customers have. One of the benefits, as I started with, AT&T is some customers trust AT&T. The services that AT&T provides, customers understand the quality of it. They understand the innovation. They understand our history. And again, sometimes the benefit of being so large is we can be in lots of different places. The problem of that is customers don't always understand it. And the innovation that comes out of AT&T, the reliable services that come out of AT&T, the commitment to the customer that comes out of AT&T, the commitment to the community, right? The benefit of being as large as we are, our employees live and work everywhere you are and everywhere your customers are and everywhere your agents are. So it's not like we're a company from one city that's trying to provide services everywhere. We are a part of the larger community. And so the innovation that comes out of our company, the financial stability that comes out of our company, it's really a great time to be at AT&T. It's very exciting to work here. It's exciting to see then all of the piece parts come together from a master agent perspective. It's like we have this massive Lego box at AT&T, and we have all these different Legos, and we're able to put it together. But the best part is the channel partners and sub-agents that work with Telarus are the ultimate Lego builders, right? You head into that box and you look at all of the solutions and all of the offerings that we have. Your partners have customer relationships, and they can work with us together to build the right solution for customers. And that's what's so exciting for us, is really tapping into all of the partners that are in your ecosystem and really start maximizing everything that we've done and all of these great solutions that we have for the benefit of our joint customers. And so we're thrilled to be doing this, and we're really excited to be continuing to work with Telarus and jump into that next wave of the future together and really have a lot of success together.
Well, thank you, Chris. That is really well said. And you're right. Companies do think about AT&T, and we're watching partners start to have that same experience. So as that grows, know that you should be considering how you lean into some of these incredible solutions. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up from behind the desk with AT&T and Chris Jones. I can't wait to see you, sir, in person, even though it won't happen as often. The occasional dinner would absolutely be appropriate with perhaps a beverage or two. So stay safe, keep your family safe. And again, thank you so much for your partnership. And that's a wrap from Studio 19 in Sandy City, Utah, from Telarus headquarters. Thank you, and good night.